Painter. Painter's a very interesting character in Identity 5. For frankly, being a character who has probably the best passive in the game, bare none to nobody, and having a second passive pretty much on the same level, but having the most mediocre ability ever. So, frankly, where does that make him? Does that make him a good character, bad character, a middle-of-the-line character? Today, this is what we're going to be discussing, and to also help players who want to pick up the character, learn him. Today, folks, this is the Painter's Guide. Painting's a weird character. Painter is a weird character. And let's start off with the weirdest part about him, his actual painting. First of all, he is the only other character besides enchanters who have to earn their ability. They don't get it passively, they have to actually get out of their way to gain their ability. Which makes him already in a bad position, but hey, for getting chased, it's not too bad. So let's just kind of focus on a chase-by-chase scenario. You have to first start staring at the hunter until you reach 67%. And once by doing that, you can start painting. By reaching 67% again via painting, you're able to place down the painting. I always recommend both maxing out the stare and the painting before you use both, as it basically just maximizes his efficiency as a character. God, I hate that word. But you want to be efficient with painting. That's the main draw with him. As frankly, you don't want to treat him as a character like Acrobat who uses their ability willy-nilly, and that's part of his kit. You want to play him like a raw kiter who has an item, for example. You pick up like a merc thing. Like an itemless character that you pick an item from a chest. You want to treat him like that. The painting is dressing for everything else in this kit. But frankly, have a game plan when you do this. Like, for example, don't just place down a painting into a palette and then once the stun time's up, you go into a palette stun. It is always worse to do that, and you're better off doing any other plan. I recommend no one do this, by the way. You want to have a solid game plan that can go either by joining into a new loop, saving yourself some time, area denial. You want to have that plan clear, which also plays into what you want to build on him. I recommend you go flywheel over broken, as frankly you can do a lot more with this kit with flywheel than you can with windows. Both are good, don't get me wrong. Both highly recommended for this. But flywheel's better as, for example, if the hunter swings and looks at the painting to cancel the attack recovery and burn the painting out, he can do that. He can flywheel you, and then if you're going back into the painting direction, he has to either stare at it or get lucky. So there's a lot of ways you can deal with it, which makes him a very interesting character in that regard. But with that, let's get into his passive traits, which honestly make him the character he is. Let's start off with his painting abilities. Aesthetic Resonance. This ability is godly. 4% permanent bonus speed does a lot of things. First of all, being generally faster is a great thing in general. Honestly, it's better than interaction speed, it's better than decoding speed. It is by far the best stat to have. Mobility is king in this game, as you can tell from other characters. The way to achieve this, you gotta place down 2 paintings. Because it only maxes out twice and it's 2% per painting. It's nice because frankly, by using your ability, you're gaining a secondary stat, which is really great. Even for just 2%, 2% is a little bit, is good. Like for example, saying you're getting cheered by a cheerleader. that's 7%. Use another painting, that's 9. Endgame. Endgame gives you 5% as well. That's 9% right there. There's a lot of interesting things that go into this one ability itself. And frankly, as a raw kiter based kind of character, this does wonders for him. Honestly, it makes him do really good in a lot of matchups. Does good on the maps he is good on. Just overall a generally helpful ability. With that, we also get into his debuff, which is self-fulfillment. It's a debuff, alright. I mean, frankly, it doesn't really hurt much. It just makes sure that the hunter knows where you are at all times, and frankly, you gotta be aware that he will come after you, especially if you're using it as a kiting-based ability, not for support. So, I mean, there's not much to talk about besides that. 5 seconds, it's a lot. They can see you, you know. Make sure you know what you're doing before you waste your painting. Or use up your painting, not waste. But, yeah. Let's get into the all-star of all abilities in the game. Intuition. It's just broken. Honestly, if this character was better than he was, yeah, no, he'd be nerfed in seconds. This is by far the best passive ability in the game. Honestly, it beats out some abilities just by itself. That's how good of an ability this is. Put it on any character, you slap them from any tier they were in, bump them up too, you know? The fact that you have no second chair phase, and you will always be put on a second chair if you get rescued, is insane. Frankly, that means you don't have to really risk anything rescuing him early. Let's say Painter dies early because it was a bad matchup, he got caught out unluckily, whatever, right? There could be many reasons. Or if he gets chased late into a game, he gets 3 ciphers. There's a lot of pressure for the hunter to do something with that. Because frankly, well, you can go pressure other people, but frankly, there's no second chair phase, so he's not getting punished for staying on the chair longer than he should be. There's no punishment for early rescue into a longer extended kite, which also means that if it's an earlier rescue and a long kite, that means he is longer on the chair still after getting a rebound kite. There's so much nuance to this one ability, it's crazy. Stronger than hell, you will never have an issue with this ability. And then frankly, there's no downsides to it. Honestly, he doesn't get slower time, he doesn't get that, and plus you always want to bring snooze anyways, so you can stay on that chair longer. It makes him really good in that sense, because frankly, what is a hunter going to do against that? Well, they can, you know, roam maybe. They can wait, you know, maybe stuff a chair rescue, but like that's not all guaranteed. Hell, they could just wait and just give them a feed tinnitus without rescuing, and he can't leave. The second he leaves, then there's a risk of getting rescued. There's so much nuance in this one ability, it's crazy. Which is also why people cannot decide between him being overrated, not overrated, but underappreciated or underrated or whatnot. Because frankly, this makes him strong. But let's get more into kind of theory and hypothetical talk rather than, you know, how his game plan works.
Okay, so how do you want to actually play Painter? Now, unlike Emil, who's designated as a kiter / rescuer, Painter's pretty straightforward. You either get kited, or you help be the greatest nuisance to the hunter's life. Because Painter doesn't really get punished for doing side objectives after doing his main cipher, or if there's a lot of extra players over, he can help support. There's actually no downside to anything he does. If he gets a painting off, then he creates this unrelying pressure that is more devastating than other characters, as he can drag a hunter to a certain direction and stun him as well. Unlike something like Batter or Forward, like potential hits, it is an area of effect where unless you have excitement or you try your best to avoid it, you're gonna get hit, you know? So for kiting, it's pretty self-explanatory. You want to stall as much as you can until you get down, and once you get down, depending on how your team wants to play it, is how the game's gonna go. If they want to just let you go, that works. If there's good cipher control and all that, very good coordination is what goes through for the main part, which you also don't need half the time. If you know it's a painter and you have the common sense of a non-elk player, you'll understand that, oh, I don't have to go in early. Oh, I don't have to rescue at all since he sold. Oh, he's out of paintings. I don't see the point. Or, oh, we can save him very late and then we do a really early rescue the next time. There's a lot of depth to how you play with a painter compared to pretty much any other character. Because you gotta think as the player and you gotta think outside of the player. It's very much a coordinated thing. And for support, you just play him like the most annoying human being alive. He just gets free paintings, he can take a hit, he can get downed. If he gets downed and you're still up in survivors and cipher progress, there's no punishment for him just staying on the ground, staying on a chair. You can just pick him anytime you want. His paintings are pretty much a nuisance for when you're supporting, as it basically fixes where the hunter's camera is going to be. Or they just want to eat the sun, which is still a stun, which draws time for whoever's being chased. So there's a lot of good things about him. But there are some bad. First of all, maps. Now, maps don't really happen a lot for survivors, as most can be fine. But as a raw kiter slash hybrid of kiter, I like to classify more as a raw kiter. He doesn't really do good on open maps. He frankly does horrible on open maps, which means you can't really use him on Moonlit, as anyways, the map's too big. Support is out of the way. Lakeside is also a bad map for him, as it's pretty open and the palettes that you have using for him are pretty narrow, so you don't really get good paintings off, or they'll just eat it and then attack you again. Chinatown's not that great for him. Red Church, really good for him. Probably his best map next to Hospital, which is also a generally good survivor map. Mid of the line, Arms is generally really good for him. Leo's is not too bad, but it also is pretty open. So it depends where you are, depends what you're doing. It just generally depends on how you think. But generally, the more walls you have in your tile, the better. But he's not really tile dependent. He's just more map dependent. Like, even with, like, for example, Moonlit, right? Sure, it's open, but there's also some pretty high wall areas, so you really want to spawn near the fourth stop, third stop kind of areas inside the map, as that's where you get the most value. And if you're on the other side, then it becomes really risky as a painter. So those are some key points to note. Also, he doesn't really fit out. He doesn't really expand the characters in a game. Like, as much as his passive can do, that's all it can do. Like, he doesn't really have a special crazy ability or whatnot that can, like, clutch games. It's just a really good passive and an okay ability. Like, frankly, he doesn't have very good team depth. While he's a good solo ranker, he's not a great, team player character. But there's nothing wrong with picking him. Now, I want to just end this by giving final thoughts. First of all, how would I rate him in a tier list, kind of? Where do I think he lists? Well, due to him not having anything inherently awful about him, but he doesn't really stick out, honestly, I'll give him a straight B. Well, the top player asked, Verge said that I should do a low A. I don't really carry that sentiment. I can respect it, but I don't think he has the depth you need to be in the A category in general. That's the problem. But I can see it. I can respect it. I just personally, to me, I don't see him being all the way there. But I think as a character, originally I would have put him in D tier. I didn't think Painter was good, but after talking to Verge and playing him more and watching him more, I understand that he's not that bad. So, frankly, that's where I'm going to put him now. Closing notes. Do I recommend Painter? Honestly, yeah. If you don't have a character and you don't really want to play meta, Painter's not a bad character to pick up. He can teach you raw kiting, he can teach you how to properly use abilities, probably learn where to rotate from a kite afterwards. There's a lot of good skills here. So I honestly highly recommend you pick up Painter. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. Make sure next time I'm gonna make the Hullabaloo video, and people who think Hullabaloo are broken are crazy people, and I don't agree with them. Anyways, thank you. Now here comes my thanks section. First of all, huge shout out to Verge. I reached out to him, asked him if he wanted to get interviewed, and I can take some of his gameplay as well and show it off to you guys. I'm really glad I got to talk to him, and honestly, shout out to him, you know, top Painter player. So if you ever see him playing Painter, you should probably watch him, because, you know, I don't know if that's a thing people do. Why don't you watch people play? I don't know. I find it fun, honestly. I might do that more often. Second player is Meow Meow for additional clips as well. I originally asked them first, and I got some of their gameplay, and then I asked Verge. So it's a mix of both of them, but I thank both of them a lot for the clips. I would like to thank my artist Purple for making this thing over 11 months ago, because frankly, I forgot I was going to make this video. And then I kind of went to the realization making the meal video. I'm like, oh yeah, I had this one backlogged. So yeah, thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below. If there's any character you want me to do next after Hullabaloo, let me know and I will take any. To all, you know, thank you all for watching. Have a good rest of your day, night, or evening.